right, so let's dive right in. Today, it's all about you and your interest in getting a handle on hypochondria and these manic disorders, especially how they tie into self-improvement.
Okay.
Where we're taking a deep dive into overcoming the mind's prison. It's a book that really tackles these conditions head on. I'd say it mixes in personal stories, with advice from experts.
Yeah.
And what I found really interesting is that it's laser focused on practical strategies, like things you can actually use to manage these disorders, right?
Yeah, what's fascinating here is the book's whole premise.
Okay.
Both hypochondria and manic disorders, they're really rooted in how powerful the mind is
Okay.
to create realities, the good, the bad, and the just totally overwhelmed.
The book uses this analogy. It says hypochondria is like having a pet dragon.
I like that.
This dragon represents your fear of illness.
Okay.
And you're just constantly worried that it's going to turn on you. Have you ever felt that way? Like your health anxieties are just breathing down your neck?
Oh, absolutely.
That's what we're going to explore today.
So the book makes it clear that hypochondria isn't just about imagined illness.
Right.
It can show up in real physical symptoms.
Okay.
We're talking headaches, stomach issues, even heart palpitations. It's not just in your head, it's in your body too.
The book tells the story of Harry. He's a software engineer.
Okay.
Who became so fixated on a mole.
A mole, huh?
And the doctors, they assured him it was benign.
Okay.
But he was absolutely convinced it was cancer.
Wow.
And the stress of believing that he was sick actually led to him developing these physical symptoms.
Like a vicious cycle, right?
Yeah.
The physical symptoms just make you even more sure that something's seriously wrong. And that just ramps up the anxiety and the cycle just keeps going.
Now, switching gears a little bit
Okay.
to manic disorder, the book describes them as like a roller coaster, but without any brakes. It's along for the ride.
Oh, wow.
And it shares the story of Christopher, a lawyer. His manic episodes would lead him to risky behavior, things like overspending, infidelity, and then these would be followed by these crushing depressive episodes.
So it's really looking at how these extreme shifts have an impact, not just on the person themselves, but also on their relationship. Imagine, being Christopher's partner.
Yeah.
Fusion, the hurt caused by those unpredictable swings, that'd be really hard to deal with.
So what's at the root of these conditions? I mean, is it nature or nurture?
Right. The book dives into how genes and environment work together.
Oh.
It's complex. It presents the story of John and Peter, their father and son.
Okay.
And they both suffered from hypochondria, which really shows you that there can be a genetic component to these disorders. But it's not quite that simple. Environmental factors play a big part too. Societal pressures, cultural expectations, even personal experiences. All these things can make these conditions work.
It's almost like a recipe, right?
Yeah.
Where you have these multiple ingredients that come together to make the final dish.
That's a good way to put it.
You might have that genetic predisposition,
Right.
But then life throws in some extra stress,
right?
And
Yes.
that can really amplify things.
Exactly. Yeah. But here's the encouraging part. The book doesn't just diagnose the problem.
Right.
It actually offers real strategies for managing these conditions. It's about empowerment, not despair.
And one of the most interesting strategies it talks about is cognitive behavioral therapy,
Yeah.
or CBT.
Right.
Can you break down what CBT is and how it can, actually help?
Sure. So CBT is really about identifying and challenging those irrational thought patterns, the ones that drive anxiety and those unhealthy behaviors. It's like you're retraining your brain to think in a more balanced way.
The book shares the story of Bob, who used CBT to get a grip on his health anxiety. He was convinced he had every disease imaginable.
Oh, wow.
And was constantly at the doctor's office. So how did CBT help him break free from that cycle?
Well, through CBT, Bob, he learned to recognize those catastrophic thoughts,
Okay.
to question them,
Right.
and ultimately replace them with more realistic ones. It's really about learning to separate your thoughts from reality. The book even gives you specific exercises and worksheets that Bob actually used to challenge his anxieties and regain control of his life.
So it's about becoming aware of those dragon thoughts, those fears that are always lurking,
Yeah.
and then developing the tools to actually tame them. That sounds incredibly empowering. But is therapy the only answer?
Well, it's a crucial piece of the puzzle, but the book also stresses how important it is to find the right support system. It talks about the value of support groups, where you can connect with others who truly get what you're going through.
That sense of community, of not being alone in your struggle.
Right.
That can be so powerful.
Absolutely, yeah. And the book acknowledges the role of medication in managing symptoms, particularly for manic disorder. But it stresses that medication often works best when it's combined with therapy, not as a standalone solution.
So it's a holistic approach, addressing all aspects of the individual and their experience.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. But what about the financial burden of these conditions?
Oh, right.
The book delves into that as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Hypochondria, for example, can lead to way too many doctor visits and unnecessary tests, which can get really expensive. The book cites some studies that show that people with hypochondria make an average of 17 doctor visits a year.
Wow.
Compared to the typical 5 visits for those without the condition.
That's a huge difference.
It is.
And I imagine that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the costs, associated with these conditions.
You're right. You've also got to think about the indirect costs, like lost productivity at work or strained relationships. Yeah. Conditions can really impact every part of your life. But here's something I found really interesting. The book explores the power of laughter.
Yep.
As a coping mechanism. It even talks about laughter yoga.
Laughter yoga. Now that sounds intriguing. Tell me more about that.
Well, it's based on the idea that even forced laughter can have these positive physiological effects, like reducing those stress hormones and elevating your mood. It might sound a little silly, but the research is there.
I could see that could be helpful. If you're feeling down or anxious, sometimes just the act of laughing, even if you don't really feel like it at first, can really shift your perspective.
Exactly. And the book, it backs us up with studies showing that laughter can decrease cortisol.
Okay.
That's the stress hormone, and increase endorphins, those feel good chemicals in your brain.
So it's like a natural antidepressant.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the best part is it's free.
Right.
And it's accessible to everyone.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that. So it's like, finding joy in the midst of these challenges.
Yeah.
It's a really powerful concept. So we've been talking about the power of the mind, the impact of our environment. But the book also, it dives into the role of genetics in hypochondria and manic disorders, doesn't it?
It does. It explains that you can inherit this predisposition to these conditions, meaning you might be more likely to develop them.
So it's like inheriting a blueprint that makes you more vulnerable.
Exactly.
The story of John and Peter, the father and son who both suffered from hypochondria, that really brings that point home. It's fascinating how genetics can play such a significant role.
It is. But the book is careful to point out that genes aren't destiny.
Okay.
Just because you have a family history of these conditions, it doesn't mean you're guaranteed to develop them.
That's reassuring. So it means we have some control over our mental health, even if we have that genetic predisposition.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where the book's emphasis on proactive strategies comes in. By understanding how genetics, environment, and our personal choices all work together, we can actually empower ourselves to take charge of our mental well-being.
The book really explores those environmental factors in detail.
It does.
What are some of the key insights it offers about the role of environment?
Well, it talks about how our modern culture, with its constant pressure to achieve, and this obsession with health and perfection,
right?
It can create a breeding ground for anxiety and stress.
It's like we're constantly bombarded with these messages about what we should be doing, how we should be feeling, who we should be.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
It is. And for someone who's already predisposed to hypochondria or manic disorder,
right,
that constant pressure can be a huge trigger.
The book also delves into the impact of trauma.
Right. It does, yeah.
It highlights how those adverse childhood experiences can have such a lasting effect on our mental and emotional health.
Yeah, it explains that traumatic events, like abuse, neglect, or the loss of a loved one, they can really leave this deep imprint on our brains,
right,
making us more vulnerable to anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues.
It's like those experiences, they create a blueprint for how we respond to stress and challenges in the future.
Exactly. Yeah. And the book stresses how important it is to seek professional help if you've experienced trauma.
Right.
Therapy can be incredibly helpful in processing those experiences and developing, healthier coping mechanisms.
So it's about understanding that your past experiences can shape your present,
Yeah.
but they don't have to define your future.
Exactly. Yeah. And the book gives you, practical strategies for healing those old wounds and building a more resilient and fulfilling life.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
From understanding the nature of these conditions and their causes,
Right.
to exploring a wide range of coping mechanisms and treatment options. Overcoming the Mind's Prison really offers a comprehensive and empowering roadmap for anyone who's seeking to reclaim their mental well-being.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring the book's insights with you.
Absolutely. And for our listener, what stands out to you the most? What will you carry with you from this deep dive?
For me, it's the book's emphasis on self-compassion.
Hope so.
It's so easy to get caught up in self-criticism and judgment when we're struggling, but this book reminds us to be gentle with ourselves,
Right.
and to celebrate our progress no matter how small.
That's a beautiful takeaway, and for me, it's the reminder that we are not alone in this journey.
Absolutely.
Millions of people struggle with these conditions, and there is a wealth of resources available to help us find our way back to mental well-being.
That's beautifully said.
Yeah.
The book truly empowers readers to become active participants in their own healing.
If you're interested in learning more about hypochondria and manic disorders, and especially if you're looking for practical strategies for managing these conditions, we highly recommend checking out Overcoming the Mind's Prison.
You can find it on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books.
Remember, knowledge is power, and taking care of your mental health is one of the most empowering things you can do for yourself.
And if you're struggling, please reach out for help. There are people who care about you and want to support you on your journey to healing and wholeness.
Until next time, be well and keep diving deep.
Okay, sounds good. One thing that really struck me about the book is how it explores the impact of societal pressures and cultural norms on these conditions. It's like our modern world is almost designed to make us worry.
That's a really interesting point. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Well, think about it. We're just constantly bombarded with all these messages about health and perfection.
Right.
What we should look like, how we should feel, what we should be doing to achieve, optimal health. It's overwhelming.
It's true. It's like everyone's chasing this ideal that's often just unattainable.
Yeah.
And I imagine that can be especially difficult for someone with a predisposition to anxiety or hypochondria.
Absolutely. The book even highlights how cultural differences can play a role.
Okay.
In some cultures, expressing emotions openly is discouraged, which can lead to people internalizing their fears and anxiety.
That makes a lot of sense. If you're not allowed to talk about your worries, they can easily fester and grow.
Exactly.
But the book doesn't just focus on societal pressure.
Right.
It offers practical tools for managing those dragon thoughts.
Exactly. It dives into cognitive strategy,
Right.
which are all about changing your thought patterns.
Okay.
And then behavioral strategies, which focus on changing your actions.
Can you give some examples of those strategies from the book?
Sure. Let's say you're someone who spends hours online researching symptoms.
Right.
The book suggests a behavioral strategy, like setting limits on your internet use,
Okay.
or finding other activities to distract yourself. It's about breaking those unhealthy patterns.
So it's about recognizing when you're falling into those negative thought spirals,
Yeah.
and then consciously choosing to do something different.
And the book offers a ton of other strategies like mindfulness techniques, relaxation exercises, even simple things like spending time in nature or listening to calming music. It's about finding what works for you.
It's about self-discovery and finding those tools that bring you peace and help you manage those anxieties.
Exactly. And the book really emphasizes that self-care is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
Right.
Especially when you're dealing with these kinds of conditions.
That's a really important point. It's so easy to get caught up in the busyness of of life
Yeah.
and neglect our own well-being.
It is, but taking care of yourself, both mentally and physically,
Right.
is essential for managing these conditions effectively.
The book also talks about the importance of finding the right support network, right?
She does.
We touched on this earlier. But I think it's worth exploring further.
Absolutely. It stresses that you don't have to go through this alone.
Right.
Support groups can be an incredible resource for connecting with others who share similar experience.
What are some of the benefits of support groups that the book highlights?
Well, it mentions emotional support,
Okay.
practical advice, and a sense of hope. Just knowing that you're not alone in your struggle.
Yeah.
That can be incredibly powerful.
It's like having a tribe of people who understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
And can offer, guidance and encouragement.
Exact. And the books suggest doing some research to find a support group that's a good fit for you. There are different types of groups. Some led by professionals, others peer-led.
Okay.
Some focused on specific conditions, others more general.
So it's about finding a group where you feel comfortable and supported.
Precisely. And the book encourages attending a few different meetings before deciding if a particular group is right for you. It's like trying on different pairs of shoes until you find the ones that fit just right.
That's a great analogy. But what about those who might not be comfortable with the group setting?
Right.
What other options for support does the book mention?
Well, the book also emphasizes the importance of involving loved ones in your journey.
Okay.
Family and friends can provide invaluable support.
Right.
But it's crucial to have open and honest conversations about your condition and how it affects you.
That can be tricky though, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes family and friends, even with the best intentions, might say things that are unintentionally hurtful or dismissive.
Absolutely. The book acknowledges that.
Yeah.
And suggests educating loved ones about your condition. Share resources, excerpts from the book, anything that can help them understand what you're going through.
It's about helping them to see things from your perspective.
Yeah.
And to provide the kind of support that's truly helpful.
Exactly. And it's also about setting boundaries. You don't have to share every detail of your experience if you're not comfortable, and you have the right to walk away from conversations that are unhelpful or upsetting.
That's an important reminder. Protecting your mental health is crucial.
Absolutely. And the book encourages readers to seek professional help if they're struggling to communicate with loved ones.
Okay.
Or if their relationships are being negatively impacted by their condition. Family therapy can be a great resource for navigating those challenges.
So we've talked about finding the right treatment,
Right.
developing coping mechanisms,
Yeah.
building a support network. What else does the book recommend for managing these conditions?
Well, it dedicates a whole chapter to alternative therapy.
Oh, that's right.
Exploring a range of non-traditional approaches.
It goes beyond traditional talk therapy and medication. What are some of the alternative therapies that the book highlights?
Well, it mentions acupuncture, aromatherapy, dietary changes, even herbal remedies. It even brings up laughter yoga again.
It seems like laughter really is a powerful tool.
It is. The book provides some fascinating insights into how laughter can reduce stress hormones and boost mood. It even suggests specific techniques for incorporating laughter into your daily life.
I'm definitely going to look into those.
Yeah.
So tell me more about these alternative therapies. What does the book say about acupuncture?
Well, it describes acupuncture as a way to relieve stress and anxiety by stimulating energy flow.
Okay.
And promoting healing. It explains that it can also be helpful for managing physical symptoms of anxiety, like headaches and muscle tension.
I've heard that acupuncture can be really effective for for pain management too.
It can, and the book suggests it might be helpful for managing the physical discomfort that often accompanies anxiety.
What about aromatherapy? I've always been curious about that.
Well, the book explains that aromatherapy involves using essential oils extracted from plants to promote physical and emotional well-being.
Okay.
It specifically mentions lavender oil
Okay.
as being particularly effective for relaxation and sleep.
Lavender is so calming. I can see how that would be helpful.
Right. And the book suggests simple ways to incorporate lavender oil into your routine, like diffusing it in your bedroom or adding a few drops to your bath water.
Those are great tips. I'm gonna have to try those out. The book also talks about but dietary changes.
It does. It emphasizes the importance of a balanced diet for overall well-being,
Right.
suggesting that you avoid processed foods, sugary drinks, and excessive caffeine, all of which can exacerbate anxiety and mood swings.
It's amazing how much our diet can impact our mental and emotional state.
It really is, and the book also recommends incorporating foods that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids.
Okay.
Like salmon, walnuts, and flaxseed.
I've heard those are good for brain health.
They are. Studies have shown that omega-3s can help to improve mood
Okay.
and reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety.
So eating a healthy diet can actually help to make your brain more resilient.
Exactly. And the book also explores herbal remedies, mentioning St. John's wort as a natural remedy for depression and anxiety, but it stresses the importance of talking to your doctor
Right.
before taking any herbal supplements, especially if you're already on medication.
So even though these alternative therapies are natural, it's still important to approach them with caution.
Yeah.
And consult with a healthcare professional.
Safety first.
The book also talks about mindfulness and meditation as coping mechanisms, right?
It does. It emphasizes the importance of being present in the moment
Okay.
without judgment, and explains that mindfulness can be practiced in many different ways, like through meditation, yoga, or even just paying attention to your breath and your surroundings.
It's about cultivating a sense of awareness and acceptance.
Exact. And studies have shown that mindfulness can be effective in reducing stress, anxiety, even chronic pain. The book goes into detail about the science behind mindfulness and provides specific exercises to help you get started.
It's like training your mind to be more resilient and less reactive.
Precisely. And along with mindfulness, the book also highlights the benefits of exercise.
Right. Exercise is such a powerful mood booster.
Yeah.
I always feel so much better after a good workout.
Too. And the book explains that exercise releases endorphins, which have those feel good effects. It also helps to improve sleep quality, which is crucial for managing both hypochondria and manic disorder.
It's a win-win. What kind of exercise does the book recommend?
Well, it really encourages finding activities that you enjoy, whether it's running, swimming, dancing, or even just taking a brisk walk in nature.
It's about moving your body and finding joy in the movement.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes that self-care is not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing practice. It's about making choices every day that support your physical and mental well-being.
It's about creating a lifestyle that nourishes your soul.
Absolutely. So we've explored a wide range of coping mechanisms: cognitive strategy, behavioral strategies, alternative therapies, exercise, mindfulness. It seems like there's a whole toolbox of approaches to choose from.
And the book encourages readers to experiment and find what works best for them.
Cool.
It's a reminder that recovery is a personal journey.
Yeah.
And what works for one person might not work for another.
It's about finding what resonates with you and incorporating those practices into your life.
Speaking of finding what resonates, the book also talks about the importance of communication, doesn't it?
It does. It dedicates a whole chapter to the importance of effective communication, both with healthcare professionals and with loved ones.
That's so crucial.
It really is. The book emphasizes that honest and open communication is essential for managing these conditions effectively.
And it starts with being honest with yourself, doesn't it?
You got it. The book encourages readers to pay attention to their bodies and their minds,
Right.
and to acknowledge when they're struggling. Don't dismiss your fears or anxiety.
Yeah.
Face them head on.
That can be tough.
It can.
But it's so important to be honest with yourself about what you're feeling and what you need.
It is, and once you're in tune with yourself,
Right.
it becomes easier to communicate those needs to your healthcare professional.
The book suggests being proactive in your appointment.
Yes, it encourages coming prepared with questions and advocating for yourself. It's about being an active participant in your treatment,
Yeah.
not just a passive recipient.
So it's like preparing for a meeting.
Yeah.
Do your research. Come with questions.
Yeah.
And be ready to engage in a dialogue with your healthcare provider.
Precisely, and don't be afraid to speak up if you have concerns or if something doesn't feel right.
Right.
You have the right to be heard and to receive the best possible care.
That's so important. It's about building a relationship of trust and mutual respect with your healthcare provider.
Exact, and the book also talks about the importance of being honest with your healthcare professional, even if you're embarrassed or ashamed of your symptoms.
It can be hard to be vulnerable, especially when it comes to our health.
Yeah.
But I imagine that honesty is essential for getting the right diagnosis and treatment.
It is. The book reminds readers that healthcare professionals are there to help,
Yeah.
not to judge.
Oh, definitely.
They've seen and heard it all, and they're trained to support you through your challenges.
That's reassuring. So we've talked about communication with healthcare providers,
Right.
But the book also emphasizes communication with loved ones.
So we touched on this earlier in terms of building a support network, but it's also about communicating your needs on a day-to-day basis.
So if you're having a bad day and feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to let your loved ones know.
Exactly, and it's important to be specific about what kind of support you need.
Okay.
Maybe you just need someone to listen,
Right.
Or maybe you need practical help with something.
It's about being clear and direct about your needs.
Yeah.
So that your loved ones can provide the right kind of support.
You got it. And remember, it's also okay to set boundaries. You don't have to share every detail of your experience if you're not comfortable.
Protecting your mental health is paramount.
Absolutely. And the book encourages finding healthy ways to express your emotions.
Okay.
Whether it's through talking, writing, or creative outlets like art or music.
It's about finding an outlet that allows you to process your feelings in a constructive way.
Exactly. So we've explored a lot of different strategies for managing hypochondria and manic disorders. It seems like the key takeaway is that there's no one size fits all solution.
Right. It's about finding what works best for you.
Yeah.
And incorporating those strategies into your life.
And it's about being patient and persistent. These conditions are challenging, but they're not
Right.
with the right treatment, support, and self-care. You can live a full and meaningful life even with these conditions.
Absolutely. The book really drives home the point that there is hope, there is help, and there is recovery.
It does, and it highlights the importance of early intervention.
Okay.
If you can catch these conditions early on, you have a much better chance of managing them effectively.
That makes a lot of sense. The earlier you get help, the better.
Exactly, and the book also talks about the importance of recognizing the warning signs of these conditions.
So if you're starting to experience symptoms of anxiety, depression, or mania, it's important to reach out for help.
Absolutely. Don't wait until things spiral out of control. The book provides a checklist of warning signs to watch out for, and it encourages seeking professional help if you notice those signs in yourself or in someone you love.
That's really valuable information.
Yeah.
It's about being proactive and taking care of your mental health.
Precisely. And the book also shares some incredibly inspiring success stories. It highlights the stories of people who have successfully managed their their hypochondria and manic disorder,
Wow.
and who are now living full and meaningful lives.
I bet those stories are so powerful.
They are. They remind us that recovery is possible, and they offer hope to those who are struggling.
That's so important. It's easy to feel lost and alone when you're dealing with these conditions, but hearing stories of others who have overcome similar challenges can be incredibly empowering.
Absolutely. It's like a beacon of light,
Yeah.
showing you that there's a path forward.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
What stands out to you the most?
For me, it's the book's emphasis on taking a holistic approach to treatment.
Okay.
It's not just about medication or therapy. It's about addressing all aspects of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your physical health, your emotional well-being,
Right.
your relationships, your work, your spiritual practices. It's about treating the whole person, not just the symptoms.
I agree. It's about recognizing that all of these different facets of our lives are interconnected, and that true healing it involves addressing all of them.
Exactly. And I also appreciate the book's emphasis on self-compassion.
Okay.
It reminds us that we're all human and we're all going to struggle at times.
Right. It's about being kind to ourselves, and not beating ourselves up when we have setbacks.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that recovery is a journey, not a destination,
Yeah.
and that there will be ups and downs along the way.
So what's your biggest takeaway from this deep dive?
For me, it's the importance of hope. The book really drives home the point that recovery is possible,
Yeah.
even from these challenging conditions.
I agree. There's always hope.
And there's always help available. If you're struggling, please reach out to a healthcare professional or a trusted loved one.
Absolutely. You don't have to go through this alone.
We've talked about the power of the mind and the impact of the environment. But the book also, it digs into the role of genetics in hypochondria and these manic disorders, right?
Yeah, it does. It explains that you can inherit this predisposition to these conditions,
Yeah.
meaning you might be more susceptible to developing them.
It's like you inherit a blueprint that kind of sets you up to be more vulnerable.
The story of John and Peter, the father and son, both suffering from hypochondria, it really drives that point home.
Right.
It's fascinating to see how genetics can play such a significant role.
It is fascinating, but the book's careful to point out that genes aren't, destined. Just because you have a family history of these conditions doesn't mean you're definitely going to develop them.
Okay, so that's good to know. That's reassuring. It means we have some control
Exactly.
over our mental health,
Yeah.
even if we have that genetic predisposition.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the book's emphasis on these proactive strategies comes in. By understanding this interplay of genetics, the environment, and our own choices,
Right.
we can empower ourselves to take charge of our mental well-being.
So the book, it explores those environmental factors in detail.
It does.
What are some of the key insights it offers about the role of the environment?
Well, it talks about how our modern culture, with its constant pressure to achieve, and this obsession with health and perfection,
Right.
can create this breeding ground for anxiety and stress.
That's like we're constantly been bombarded with these messages about what we should be doing, how we should be feeling, who we should be.
Yeah, exactly.
And for someone who's already predisposed to hypochondria or manic disorders,
Yeah.
that constant pressure can be really, really triggering.
Yeah.
The book also delves into the impact of trauma, right?
It does, yeah.
Highlighting how adverse childhood experiences can have a lasting effect on our mental and emotional health.
Yeah, it explains that these traumatic events like abuse, neglect, or even the loss of a loved one
Okay.
can leave this really deep imprint on our brain, making us more vulnerable to anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues.
It's like those experiences create a blueprint for how we respond to stress and challenges later in life.
Exactly. And the book really emphasizes the importance of seeking professional help if you've experienced trauma. Therapy can be incredibly helpful in processing those experiences and developing healthier coping mechanisms.
So it's about understanding that your past experiences, they can shape your present,
Yeah.
but they don't have to define your future.
Exactly. And the book provide some practical strategies for healing those old wounds and building a more resilient and fulfilling life.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from understanding the nature of these conditions and their causes, to exploring, a wide range of coping mechanisms and treatment options. Overcoming the mind's prison really offers a comprehensive and empowering roadmap for anyone seeking to reclaim their mental well-being.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring the book's insights with you.
Absolutely. And for our listeners, what stands out to you the most? What will you carry with you from this deep dive?
For me, it's the book's emphasis on self-compassion.
Okay.
It's so easy to get caught up in self-criticism and judgment when we're struggling, but this book reminds us to be gentle with ourselves and to celebrate our progress, no matter how small.
That's a beautiful takeaway. And for me, it's the reminder that we are not alone in this journey. Millions of people, they struggle with these conditions. And there is a wealth of resources available to help us find our way back to mental well-being.
Beautifully said. The book truly empowers readers to become active participants in their own healing.
If you're interested in learning more about hypochondria and manic disorders, and especially if you're looking for practical strategies for managing these conditions, we highly recommend checking out Overcoming the Mind's Prison.
You can find it on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books.
Remember, knowledge is power. And taking care of your mental health is one of the most empowering things you can do for yourself.
And if you're struggling, please reach out for help. There are people who care about you and want to support you on your journey to healing and wholeness.
Until next time, be well and keep diving deep.